You ever see someone light a match just to watch the world burn? Except it's your world, your land, your family's blood and history. They're so eager to torch. Let me set the scene. They banned our family. Snowmobile trail at 3 in the afternoon on a random Tuesday. Didn't even have the decency to do it. Quiet. Nope. The HOA president was out there filming the whole thing. Picture this, a concrete truck roaring through dumping gray sludge right over a 60-year-old gravel path like it's nothing. The chairlifts in the background spinning full of weekend skiers shelling out $4,000 for powder, $600 a night for authentic mountain luxury, the money flooding in just as fast as the snow. And then there's Vivian Blackthorne smirking into her phone designer boots, stomping our family's trail to rubble. No more redneck noise pollution, she says, filming her little victory lap. Posted everywhere, laughs about how she finally silenced the locals. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that my grandfather's 1963 contract was right there in my pocket, burning a hole like a loaded gun. That celebration video, yeah, she thought she was ending our tradition. Turns out she just handed me the keys to end her empire. Most expensive victory dance you'll ever see. So settle in, because this one's going to cost her everything, and I mean everything she owns. Name's Garrett Thornfield, and I've spent 3 decades fixing things most folks would have given up on. Engines, equipment, other people's messes. But some things like a handshake deal. Your grandfather earned crawling through Nazi gunfire. Some things shouldn't need fixing. I inherited 47 acres of Rocky Montana mountain after Dad passed in 2018. It ain't pretty rocky soil slopes that'll break your ankle trees sharp enough to cut you just for looking at 'em wrong. But buried in all that is something you can't buy, a snowmobile trail easement that cuts through the only pass for 60 miles, connecting our place to 12,000 acres of state forest. My grandfather, Ezra. He fought for that trail from 1963 to 1968. Not with guns. He'd had enough of those in France. No, he used lawyers' surveys, and the kind of stubborn you only get from watching your buddies die for something bigger than themselves. Every winter morning growing up, you'd hear snowmobiles growling off the granite cliffs. That sound meant everything was right in the world. Pine sap, 2-stroke exhaust, that was my childhood perfume. Christmas mornings meant family rides into the backcountry. Summer evenings, we'd be out there fixing trail markers by hand, learning how to read deed lines under kerosene lamplight. This trail ain't just for fun, boy, Grandpa would tell me, his finger tracing old maps. It's about keeping these mountains free for mountain people. 40 families depended on that trail, hunting emergencies, just getting out to the wild. Without it, getting around meant a 90-mile detour, 3 hours each way versus 20 minutes. Every January, we'd host Ezra's Run, a memorial ride for Grandpa's legal victory. Local tradition built on sweat and 3 generations of grit. And then Vivian arrived, blowing in like an early frost in her designer boots. Bought a $2.8 million executive retreat right next to us spring of 2023. She was fresh from San Francisco, 20 years as a compliance attorney. Fancy title for someone whose job was basically to find legal ways to crush regular folks under a mountain of paperwork. Within 6 months, she's the HOA president of Glacier Ridge Mountain Estates. 12 members, mostly wealthy transplants, who decided our quaint mountain charm needed their expensive improvements. Vivian, though. She had big plans. She said snowmobile noise disrupted her meditation practice, claimed our trail ruined her property value, wanted to turn the area into a wildlife sanctuary, which, let's be honest, really meant private hiking trails for the HOA elite and keeping us mountain trash out. It started with cookies and a legal briefcase. Mr. Thornfield, I'd like to discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement regarding that noisy trail. I told her it wasn't up for negotiation. Been in my family longer than she's been alive. Her smile cracked like lake ice in April. 2 weeks later, certified mail, Morrison Keller and Associates, San Francisco's most expensive environmental lawyers. The letterhead thick as cardboard, reeking of her perfume and ego. The message, Seasall Trail, use or face $500 daily fines and legal costs. Their claim, our 1963 easement was invalid under modernized environmental regulations. Complete fiction, but when you're paying lawyers $800 an hour, fiction becomes fact real quick for people who can't afford to fight back. It worked at first. 3 families stopped using the trail. The Snowmobile Club panicked. I watched 60 years of tradition start to crumble just because some entitled transplant thought we didn't deserve access. But Vivian made a mistake. She thought we were too poor, too stupid to fight back. She didn't know we keep every scrap of paper since World War II. Next, she sent out a surveyor, some guy in a hard hat setting up boundary markers on my property. He tells me environmental boundary assessment for Blackthorn Holdings, LLC, just doing his job. For 3 days, he tromps around taking photos, hammering stakes 15 feet into my land. I ask to see his credentials. Face goes white. His Montana surveyor's license expired 2 years back. His gear, cheap knockoffs from Harbor Freight. When I call his business, it's a disconnected number. In the Army, we called this what it was, fraud. That's a federal offense whether you're stealing secrets or land. But this fake surveyor gave me something better than evidence. He gave me ammunition. That night I hit a trail cam in a pine tree disguised as a birdhouse. Motion activated straight to my phone. Next morning, Vivian's black BMW rolls up, boots clicking like angry bugs on gravel, meets her fake surveyor in 4K, hands him an envelope thick enough to choke a horse. I don't care what it costs. Move those markers wherever you need to. These people don't understand property law anyway. The audio caught every word, even the $5,000 bonus for creative interpretations. Monday morning, I called the State Licensing Board unlicensed surveying video evidence of cash payments. State investigators are on site Tuesday with warrants and an attitude. The surveyor's up for federal charges within a week. Vivian's property deed goes under investigation. Her insurance company starts asking tough questions. The local paper picks up the story. City lawyer versus mountain family, round 2. The town diner buzzes like a hornet's nest. 3 HOA members quietly reach out supporting us behind closed doors. But the investigation uncovers something bigger. Our surveyor gets real chatty when federal agents offer him a deal. Turns out Vivian isn't just a retired lawyer running an HOA. She's got ties to Pinnacle Resort Development Corp. Shell companies, million-dollar land purchases, all about controlling access to state forest lands. Her BMW peeling out that Tuesday sounds like retreat, but I know better. These types just regroup with bigger guns. And boy, did she come back swinging. Phase 2. An emergency investigation from the Montana Department of Environmental Quality. 47 pages of pure fiction photos of devastating erosion. Actually just spring snowmelt destroyed vegetation, which was deer bedding. And my favorite rare alpine flowers supposedly wiped out by our snowmobiles, even though you could see the plastic price tags from the garden center in the corner of the photo. The state inspector, Dakota Rivers, fresh from college, shows up expecting disaster. What she finds is a pristine trail, hand-built drainage, native grass, strategic barriers to protect sensitive spots. I show her 40 years of environmental reports, voluntary soil tests, vegetation surveys. Federal law says pre-existing use trumps new regulations if you can't prove actual damage. I pull out Vivian's smoking gun, the endangered flowers straight from Home Depot. Dakota's barely holding in a laugh. The real expert, Dr. Vasquez, confirms it minimal impact, cleaner soil than most suburbs, zero evidence of environmental harm. But Dr. Vasquez finds something else. The fake environmental report has detailed surveys and soil tests that look a whole lot like construction planning. Now things get interesting. Vivian shows up reeking of desperation and perfume and tries to bribe Dakota with a consulting opportunity. Then she threatens Dr. Vasquez's university funding. But emails reveal her real agenda. Shell companies bought up 847 acres, all linked to Pinnacle Resort Development. $15 million in play contingent on eliminating our trail. Dakota's report is devastating complaint, dismissed false reporting charges for Vivian's expert, and her attempts to threaten university funding spark federal investigations. Even local environmental groups turn against her, apologizing for being duped. Town meetings turn into shouting matches. Vivian's mask slips for good. On tape, she admits, "I don't care about the environment. I just need legal leverage to eliminate recreational competition." Next up, her nuclear option. 3 lawsuits filed at once, state, federal, and administrative court, each one designed to bury us in legal fees. The centerpiece, an ADA claim, says our trail discriminates against disabled people for not being wheelchair accessible. $2.7 million in damages or rebuild the trail. Building wheelchair ramps on a 40-degree mountain slope is like putting elevators in the trees. Impossible. My legal costs hit $47,000 in a week. The bank suggests settling. But Vivian missed one detail: primitive trails established before 1990 are exempt from ADA requirements, and frivolous lawsuits trigger sanctions. Disabled veterans rally behind us. This woman doesn't speak for us. Tom Hensley, double amputee vet, declares on the local news. A crowdfunding campaign raises $23,000 in 2 days. The American Legion offers their conference room for strategy. Vivian's side gets desperate threats, insurance canceled, black SUVs prowling Main Street. But every move just digs her hole deeper. When it comes out that her own mansion violates every ADA standard: steep stairs, no ramps, her lawyers are blindsided. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison tears them apart in court. This court will not tolerate exploitation of disability rights as corporate weapons. Lawsuit dismissed, $89,000 in sanctions, and the bar comes after her lawyers. But here's the twist. During discovery, Vivian's lawyers are forced to cough up 47 banker's boxes of corporate documents. I'm up at 2 a.m. with a mug of bad coffee when I find it subsection 47C of Alpine Holdings Charter. Pinnacle Resort Development Corp., $47 million investment, all contingent on exclusive access to state forest lands and all dependent on trail closure. But Grandpa Ezra wasn't some dumb hick. The 1963 agreement has a reciprocal clause: breach of trail access voids all road access, and my family owns the only quarter-mile access road to the entire ski resort. No road, no resort. They can't take it by eminent domain either. All I had to do was wait. So I built my case. Cameras everywhere documenting every violation. Hired Marcus Webb, a retired FBI agent, to sniff out corporate surveillance. Local businesses chipped in legal research. The community rallied. We mapped out every resort vulnerability, every daily vehicle trip, every dependency on our road. Peak ski season. 4,000 guests, $340,000 a day. If they lost access mid-season, they'd be ruined. My plan: let them fill up for Martin Luther King weekend, then drop the hammer. Road closed, contracts nullified, $47 million instantly worthless. Vivian tried one last desperate move: sabotage. Contractors accidentally destroy the trail, claiming a malfunction. My cameras catch them, admitting she paid extra for creative accidents. FBI steps in: property destruction on federal easement is a federal crime. The contractor flips, rats her out for conspiracy. Vivian bribes the mayor, the sheriff, even the bank. Sheriff Martinez wears a wire, every word recorded. Anonymous threats hit local businesses. SUV convoys prowl the streets. Security gets hired for my family. Evidence piles up. She's running a campaign of intimidation across 12 states. All the while, the resort prepares for the most profitable weekend of the year. My cameras catch them celebrating, champagne popping, toasting progress while promising investors exclusive mountain access. They have no idea. Monday, Martin Luther King Day, 6 a.m. The road closure goes up, 12 veterans and me, steel posts, signs, concrete. By 6:47, the trap's set. First lift operator radios and roads blocked. Nobody's getting to work. Within minutes, panic ripples through the resort. Kitchens shut, chairlifts idle. 4,000 guests realize they're trapped in a very expensive snow globe. Vivian rolls up in a limo flanked by lawyers and execs. She screams, "You can't do this! I own this mountain!" I hand her the yellowed contract. "Read your grandfather's agreement, lady. Breach our trail rights, lose your road access." Maybe they should have taught you contract law in those fancy schools. Sheriff Martinez, federal marshals, news crews, everyone's there. Mr. Thornfield has legal right to control access to his road, sheriff announces. FBI cuffs Vivian right there for bribery and conspiracy. Resort management realizes they're sunk $47 million lost overnight. 4,000 guests demanding refunds, staff can't get to work, investors in meltdown. Pinnacle's stock tanks. Permits revoked, insurance canceled. And just to ice the cake, Dr. Vasquez gets a court order to remove the concrete barriers from our family trail. First snowmobile roars down the trail that afternoon. 3 generations of mountain stewardship vindicated. Vivian gets 3 years in federal prison, $2.3 million restitution, every penny going to the community. Pinnacle surrenders development rights. The land sold to a conservation trust. The Thornfield Trail lives on. The real lesson: never mistake patience for weakness. My grandfather wasn't just stubborn, he was brilliant. He set a trap that took 60 years to spring, and it worked because we knew who we were, what we stood for, and we refused to get dragged into the mud. Corporate bullies can buy lawyers, but they can't buy legacy. They can't outweight people whose roots run deeper than profit margins. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Where's the line between fighting for what's right and letting karma do your dirty work? Ever had someone push you trying to get you to snap so they could use it against you? Did you give them the reaction they wanted, or did you play the long game? Let them bury themselves with their own arrogance. I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment. Tell me about the time you faced down the big shots or when you had to outthink, not outfight someone trying to take what's yours. Was justice served, or did you have to find it for yourself? Let's talk about it. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is just letting people destroy themselves while you hold the contract.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.